Take two. Hello, everyone. Today we're going to be doing On Custom by St. Alphonsus Liguori from the Theologia Moralis. This is from Book 1, Treatise 2 on the Laws. I have decided to do a couple excerpts from Alphonsus's work on custom and scandal to create a series for content on modesty and dress in public and the like. However, creating a synthesized doctrine is currently beyond me, so I'm going to be taking excerpts from St. Alphonsus, St. John Chrysostom, the author of the Pedagogus. I'm not remembering his name right now. Clement of Alexandria, and Tertullian. Tertullian and Clement have actually both recently been recommended for study by the Vatican to the faithful on the topic of daily life. So I thought it would be interesting and useful to do a study of their work, which was recommended. Which is quite interesting. I've read a lot of it before, but we'll be looking at it again, this time in public. But today, we're doing the preliminaries. We're doing a section from the Moral Theology. This is on custom from his Treatise on Laws. Now, this isn't on custom in general. This is on custom as it pertains to law. So custom as you are obliged to follow it. Not custom as in like this is just a thing people do sometimes. You're not morally obliged to do what everyone is doing, but this is a specific kind of customs. For example, fasting during Lent isn't necessarily a written law in all places, but it is a custom in all places, and it should be done in all places by all Catholics. Okay, so custom is an unwritten law. It's one that isn't explicitly on the books, but which is enforced or enforceable. But there are a bunch of conditions for a certain practice to be a custom. One is that it has to be introduced by a community, not an individual. This doesn't mean it can't come from an individual. So what he's saying here isn't that you can't have a single person that suggests something and then a custom starts as a result of that person's suggestion. What he's saying is that it isn't a custom just in virtue of a single person saying like, hey, everybody do this. So a custom can be started by an individual, but it only becomes a custom once it is regular for a full community to practice it, rather than just a single individual saying like this is what we should do, this is the custom. Custom gains its authority by the tacit consent of the prince. In our case, the prince would be lawmakers and the police. So if they allow something to go unchecked, that would be evidence that it has authority from the police or the prince, or whatever relevant authority is present, like your parish priest or the bishop of your diocese. And then communities can only produce binding customs on their own members in their own sphere of influence. A businessman cannot produce a custom which is necessary in your spiritual life, and a person selling clothing cannot produce a custom which is binding outside of their store. Now, if a community outside the store picks up the custom, then in that community, the custom would gain binding force. But the idea here is that the binding or the obligation that is created by the custom comes from the community that you are currently in. And if you're not in the community that has the custom is not binding upon you. So condition 2, the custom must be reasonable. It can never be against natural or divine law. If your custom is, we fornicate when we're 17, Or if you're, or we blaspheme at least once in our lives at the age of 22. I don't know why, but like if that's what your custom is, that's not illicit custom. You're not bound to it, obviously. Customs can contradict human law. In good faith, actually, it is illicit to promulgate a custom against human law without sin. So if there's like a bad law and you promulgate a custom which abrogates that law, that's a good thing. If you do it in bad faith, though, if you attempt to abrogate a good law or contradict a good law without good reason by promulgating a custom, that would be a sin. An actual example of a custom which is currently going against certain laws is that I've been told that at Notre Dame they don't allow, or at least certain groups don't allow, women to be altar servers for them. I do not know which groups they are. I cannot remember any of their names. But it is actually illicit for women to be altar servers, but they have a local custom against this because it's unfitting for a church to have female altar servers. But that's for other reasons, Go read some Gertrude von Lefort if you're interested in that. Anyway, so there is this question of making a custom which contradicts law and whether it's okay to arrest people for this, in bad faith, of course. So in the beginning, when people are just starting to promulgate a custom, Alphonsus says, not only are they sinning, you can arrest them and you can punish them. Cool. Then you have the early adopters, the people that aren't trying to promulgate something new, but they think it's cool. They're early in on it. These are people who you can arrest, though they do not necessarily sin in their actions. And then finally, after an unspecified period of time, when the custom becomes entirely enculturated, it is licit neither to arrest nor to punish the people who adopt a custom, nor do they commit any sin in any way at this point. We'll see a little bit more later about what it takes to get to this point, though, because if people at stage 1 or stage 2 here are arrested and punished for the promulgation of a custom, then people at stage 3 are also liable for committing sins because, like it says above, you need the tacit consent of the prince or the authority for a custom to be valid. So if at stage 1 or 2 people are arrested or people are punished, then at stage 3 you're just simply breaking the law and you're breaking the actual custom which is being enforced by the authorities. Next we have condition 3. It has to be continuous and long-lasting for a period of time. And then after a period of time, the custom becomes obligatory. Then there are a couple different opinions here. One is that this period of time is left to the judgment of prudent men. There isn't a set period of time for how long it will be until a custom becomes obligatory. The other opinion here is that it is simply 10 years. 10 years is how long you have to wait before a custom becomes obligatory for people to follow. I don't know why 10 years. It seems kind of arbitrary. I definitely lean toward the first custom here, or the first opinion. Okay, then we have some other conditions. One is that it has to be continuous. There has to be continuity. If the custom is interrupted at some point, either by the authorities or by the community itself for a period of time, that effectively abrogates the custom, unless if it's, and essentially it says like, okay, we're starting from scratch here. So there has to be continuity. It has to be repeatedly done. It has to be well known. An uncertain law does not oblige, as Alphonsus is so fond of saying in his treatise on conscience. So you can't be obliged to do something if you have no knowledge of it. And finally, it has to be freely done. Customs are free. They have to be done, spontaneously or by choice. If you're forced to do something, that isn't quite a custom. That's more just a straight out law. Next, we have some other aspects of custom. First, custom is capable of abolishing the law and the penalty of positive laws. So if the government says, wear green socks on Tuesdays, and at some point people just start wearing red socks on Tuesdays, and nothing happens, then that law is abolished and people are no longer obliged to wear green socks on Tuesdays. Now they should wear red socks. What happens if the law forbids a custom just explicitly? Well, there's actually a little distinguishing we can do. If the law explicitly forbids a custom, then if the custom is from before the law was promulgated, so before the law is made, if the custom is from before then it's abrogated. If the positive law says this custom's bad, we don't do it anymore, stop it, then the custom is abrogated. However, if the custom arises after the law is made and it is not put down by the prince, then the law is abrogated and the custom becomes the de facto law of the land. Then finally, custom is the true interpreter of the law. An example of this, an important example, is speed limits. Another one is drinking laws. In basically all places in America, it is actually illegal for minors to drink alcohol without parental permission. However, in many places, it is also tacitly acknowledged that minors are actually allowed to drink alcohol. They just aren't allowed to drink so much that it's like a serious problem for them. Or they can't be habitual drinkers, they can't get drunk, and if that happens, then they'll get in trouble. But if they just have a little bit of a drink, that's fine. So in these areas, the drinking laws should actually be interpreted through the customs that are allowed by the police in those areas. Another example is speed limits. Cops usually will not stop you for going 5 to 10 miles over the speed limit. That, in most places in America at least, has become a true custom. And that is essentially the true way to interpret speed limits in general. You're not necessarily bound to an exact speed limit because the custom in basically every place in America is that it's, slightly over the actual written speed limit. That the actual limit it is. That's when the cops will pull you over. Finally, we have a question about general laws and local customs. What if there's a custom which is contradicted by a new law, but the prince doesn't know about the custom? So, in Podunk, Little America, number 1, there's a custom, and the president contradicts the custom by a law. But it's like a very local thing. Maybe it's important to the locals, whatever. Maybe it's something about fireworks. The locals are actually okay to continue with their custom as long as it is not specifically mentioned by the law or the legislators when they produce the law. Now, if the legislators are notified and say, yes, this is abrogated, no, you cannot do this, then the people are to be held accountable for breaking the law, or they just, their custom has been abrogated. But until an explicit mention is made of local specific customs by legislators, it should be assumed that their custom has not been abrogated. That's all for today. I hope you learned something. I hope you're looking forward to what we've got next time.